Sarah Ferguson is on the move. And royal watchers can't stop talking about it. Reports have surfaced that she's spending far more time in central London these days. No palace statement. No official reason given. Just a quiet shift in her routine that has somehow set off a wave of speculation across the royal world. Why would something so small cause such a big stir? Because when it comes to Sarah Ferguson, nothing is ever just small. For more than 30 years, she's been a lightning rod for headlines. Scandals. Debt. Health scares. Charity work. She's lived through all of it, and somehow she's still standing at the center of the story. So when she quietly changes where she spends her time, people notice. And they start asking questions. Is this just practical? Or is something bigger going on? Some say it's simple. Maybe she wants to be closer to family. Maybe it's about work, or easier access to medical appointments. Others think it's the start of something new entirely, a fresh chapter she hasn't spoken about yet. But here's the thing. Sarah herself hasn't said a word. And that silence is exactly what's fueling the fire. This renewed attention hasn't just landed on her. It's pulled her daughters into the spotlight too. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie have stayed close to their mother despite her divorce from Prince Andrew years ago. Their family dynamic has always looked a little different from what you'd expect after a royal split. And that difference keeps people watching closely, wondering what's really happening behind palace doors. It hasn't been an easy stretch for Ferguson either. Last year, charity after charity quietly dropped her as an ambassador. One by one, her public roles disappeared. So this isn't just idle gossip about a woman relocating. It's a woman whose standing within royal and public life seems to be shifting, and not necessarily in her favor. What comes next for her? Nobody's sure. Meanwhile, Beatrice and Eugenie continue walking their own tightrope. Every event they attend, and every one they skip, becomes a headline. Some think their absences mean something. Others say it's nothing more than ordinary scheduling. But without the sisters speaking up themselves, the guessing game continues. And it's a game that shows no sign of stopping. Here's where it gets more personal. Sarah was living at Royal Lodge with Andrew. That chapter has now closed. Andrew has moved to Sandringham. So while the press speculates about London flats and secret hideaways, the reality is a woman navigating a major life shift, largely alone. It's easy to reduce this to tabloid drama. But underneath the headlines is a far messier personal story. And then there's the money question. People close to royal reporting have pointed out that many of Andrew's financial troubles were tied to Sarah's spending habits. Lavish lifestyles. Massive credit card bills. Debts running into the millions. That history hasn't disappeared. It shapes how people read every new report about her whereabouts, her plans, and her intentions today. Some commentators go even further, suggesting Sarah holds real leverage. She's spent decades inside the royal family's inner circle. She's seen things. Heard things. And unlike some other members of that world, she has very little left to lose. That combination, insider knowledge and financial pressure, makes her one of the more unpredictable figures still connected to the monarchy. Could she become impossible for the family to control? Rumors about her exact location have spiraled into something almost absurd. Dubai. The Caribbean. Even a claim she's living with Elvis Presley's widow. None of it confirmed. What is clear is that wherever she's chosen to settle, she's guarded that secret carefully, apparently to avoid being found or photographed. Why go to such lengths to stay hidden? That question alone tells you how complicated her situation has become. Publishing insiders have also started buzzing. Sarah has built a long career as an author and television personality. So when whispers of a possible new book or media project start circulating, people pay attention immediately. Nothing has been confirmed. No memoir. No documentary deal. But given her history of turning personal drama into public projects, would anyone really be surprised if she did it again? Writing a high-profile memoir isn't as simple as it sounds, though. There are legal reviews, endless editorial back and forth, and careful fact-checking before anything reaches shelves. So even if talks are happening behind closed doors, it could be a long road before anything becomes real. Until then, every rumor about a deal should be taken with a healthy dose of skepticism. What's fascinating is how differently the press has treated this story compared to others. Some major outlets have stayed notably quiet on certain uncomfortable narratives tied to Andrew, even as independent investigators have continued digging and uncovering new details. That contrast alone raises eyebrows. Why does coverage vary so much depending on who's reporting? It's a question worth sitting with. Through it all, Beatrice and Eugenie keep trying to live relatively normal lives. They have careers, families of their own, charitable interests they care about. But because they were born into this family, ordinary decisions get turned into public spectacle. Every skipped event becomes a theory. Every appearance becomes a clue. It's a strange kind of scrutiny most people will never fully understand. And it's hard not to feel for them, caught in the fallout of choices that were never fully theirs to make. So where does this leave Sarah Ferguson? She has weathered scandal, debt, and public backlash for decades. Somehow, she keeps reinventing herself. New projects. New public appearances. New attempts to reclaim her narrative. Whether her next move is a book, a television deal, or simply retreating from public life altogether, one thing seems certain. She isn't done yet. Not even close. The bigger picture goes beyond Sarah herself. It touches the entire direction of the modern monarchy. King Charles has pushed to streamline the royal family, focusing on a smaller group of working royals. That shift naturally raises new questions about where figures like Sarah Ferguson, and even her daughters, actually fit in going forward. Are they full members of this evolving institution? Or slowly being nudged toward its edges? For now, so much of this story rests on speculation, unnamed sources, and educated guesses rather than confirmed facts. Sarah hasn't spoken publicly about her plans. Beatrice and Eugenie haven't addressed the rumors either. Until someone breaks that silence, the public is left piecing together fragments, and drawing their own conclusions about what's really happening inside this famously private, endlessly scrutinized family. But here's the truth that keeps this story alive. Sarah Ferguson has always known how to stay relevant, for better or worse. Whether by design or circumstance, she keeps finding her way back into headlines. And with her financial history, her insider knowledge, and her daughter's futures now intertwined with hers, this next chapter could be one of the most consequential yet. The only question left is simple. What happens when she finally decides to speak for herself?